What's up, Internet? You're tuning in episode 165 of the FlipScreen Games Podcast, a weekly video game podcast where a few best buds from different nations come together to discuss the wide world of video games. I'm your host, Pete and Bessie, joined as always by my very good friends and co-hosts, Mr. Steven Radford.
Hello, hello.
And Mr. Max Wright.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Howdy, boys. How we doing?
Yeah, not bad. Very cold here in the UK at the moment, Pete. We had lots of snow.
You smell that? It's Game Awards season.
Yeah, it is.
There's a chill in the air, and it's time to talk about the nominees. The Keeley Awards are back again. We got 29 categories, 3 weeks away. On December 12th, it'll be time for the Game Awards yet again. And we're going to talk about the noms today.
Yeah, I agree with Max, though. It is too early. As we say every year, I think this should be done when the Oscars are done, after the year is finished. Yeah. Poor Indiana Jones doesn't even get a chance.
Yeah.
Doesn't even get a chance.
It'll have to be so good that it gets mentioned next year.
And it might
a
have
whole
mentioned,
argument about this.
but it's not going to win.
It didn't. In previous years, games that have come out like late November, mid-November, whatever, in December that get forgotten, they never come up again. I'm pretty sure we had looked at this and they
Smash
never
Brothers.
come up again.
Smash Brothers
Smash
did.
Brothers Ultimate did.
All right, fine. Well,
Yeah, there's like maybe one other notable example, but again, like they don't usually get reviewed for the major awards for sure.
mm-hmm.
I think that one got put in Best Fighting, but it didn't even get considered for anything else.
Which, like, fair
Bring
enough.
it.
But
Year round.
just like do what the BAFTAs do, or sorry, do what the FlipScreen Games podcast does.
I know.
Bring it back.
I know.
Forward, back. Push it back. Sorry, there we go.
It is one of those things too, where like I do understand wanting to like like be in the conversation of that year during that year, but it's like nothing's going on in January. You could get all the oxygen
Right?
at that time.
And imagine like how good it would be. We're going to set the year up. We're setting the tone for 2025. Here's everything that you can expect this year and beyond.
Yeah.
Like these are all the cool announcements that you're going to see, and everything's coming out this year or next year. Isn't this amazing?
I do think, I guess, to play devil's advocate on that, there is also the argument that the games that come out at the beginning of the year then have to wait. They have to stay in everybody's mind for even longer, and that's already been proven to be something that is tough. That games that come out earlier like get lost in the shuffle.
I don't know that that's the case this year. I feel like a lot of those earlier games have shown up, like Helldivers, for example. It's
Also-
shown up, and
Yeah,
it's-
but I mean, Helldivers isn't nominated for Game of the Year, and I think if it had come out and had the level of success it had in like March or whenever it was,
I don't know about that.
like
I don't
3
know about
months ago, and it was still in the middle of its initial wave. I think you could say the same thing about Diablo, where like that came out to a ton of fanfare, and then it was the season 1 release that it started getting critique. Like I think that it's tough.
I also feel like people, if you have an award ceremony in January like that, there's going to be a lot of work having to be done over Christmas or the holiday period. And I think that would
that's
also
true.
be unfair to the people that work on it, maybe. So I think
February sounds good.
February does sound good.
Yeah, but then again, if your game came out in January, you needs to stay on top of mind for 14 months.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough. I think it's that in that
But
situation.
at least you've like we could be casting. They could be casting like votes. in December,
now.
like-
That's a good point.
Yeah, like they could be doing. You could be doing that. I mean, I don't know.
You don't really
even with
solve the
Os-
problem of Indiana Jones then, though, right? Like
No,
you
you don't. And
need
I
to.
guess with movies, it's slightly different because they get like screener copies before the film's even released, right? You can do that with those kind of things. Whereas games are very much kind of up to the wire for the most part with their releases.
2 hours isn't enough. Like two hour movie, yeah, one thing compared to like, I've got to play this 40-hour game.
Yeah, like you could
Like,
watch every
again,
Oscar nomination in like a week, right? Like if you needed to, and then it's just like not an option when you're talking
Cramming
about
for the Oscars.
40 plus hour games and stuff like that. Yeah,
I used to love getting like dodgy Oscar DVDs when I was a kid, and it would be like for your consideration would show up. We go down the market and buy some like pirate DVDs.
That's so funny. I've never experienced that. The pirated stuff I always watched was when somebody would like get a video camera and edit it.
Oh,
and
those
then,
are terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many
terrible. But when
movies
you're at
that I had a copy of like that I watched for like a year plus before it came to like have an official release. And yeah.
Did you ever have the man come round, Steve, in his like library van, but it was just full of DVDs? We had that like he'd pull up on the
No.
road.
Save this.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Save this for after dark. All right, let's start
Yeah,
talking about
yeah,
these
yeah.
nominations because we got a bunch of categories to go through. We are going to do predictions for this, which we love to do every year. It's like a fun little exhibition round. It doesn't have any input on our like overall predictions event, but you know, it's fun to keep the chops tight for stuff like this. So we're gonna do.
There is one thing
What do you got?
that does impact our predictions this year, and that was my prediction that an Xbox game would be considered for Game of the Year this year.
Yeah,
And that was not the case. Did not
No.
happen. So I gave myself a big red blob earlier today, and I was quite sad about it.
I feel like one of mine is also screwed by what happened here in a similar regard. So I think this is Max's to lose this year, which is interesting. We'll see what happens. So got a couple weeks. We'll see what happens.
I come to win.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Hopefully, maybe one of you guys can eke one out finally. So I think we'll go through it. We've got 20 categories that we're going to predict. Steve went through and cut all the ones that we just don't. We're not going to vote on esports player and coach and teams and stuff like that. We don't pay attention to esports. We removed minor categories that are not parts of the industry that we're dialed into. So we're going to go through the 20 major categories that we whittled down. We will talk about the nominees, maybe, games that didn't make the list or whatever, and then we'll cast our predictions. And I think, we won't bury the lead. We'll start with Game of the Year, and we'll work our way back from there. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Perfect.
Alrighty, so let's kick things off. Game of the Year, recognizing a game that delivers the absolute best experience across all creative and technical fields. We've got Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Tree, Shadow of the Erd Tree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and Metaphor Refantasio. What, you got something to say?
Elden Tree. You said Elden Tree.
Oh, isn't that what it's called?
Elden Ring.
Erd Tree, excuse me. Sorry.
Oh, no, you said Elden Ring, not Elden
Elden
Tree,
Ring,
not Elden Ring.
Shadow
Thank
of the
you.
Erd Tree. Excuse me.
That's better.
Excuse me. I said Elden Tree. My bad. So before we even weigh in on any of this, I want to pull a comment here. Wakahula, one of our Patreon producers, wrote in and said they're adding a new clause just to let Elden Ring win Game of the Year again. Thoughts? And there's an update here where they explain what's going on with that. So it says, are DLCs, expansion packs, and remakes, remasters eligible? The Game Awards aims to recognize the best creative and technical work each year, irrespective of the format of that game's content. Of that content's release. Expansion packs, new game seasons, DLCs, remakes, and remasters are eligible in all categories if the jury deems the new creative and technical work to be worthy of a nomination. Factors such as the newness of the content and its price value should be taken into consideration.
Yeah, I mean, this makes sense. I think it's just a clarification on something that's already happened. Max pulled out an article from The Gamer, which rightly pointed out that, The Witcher 3's Blood and Wine won Best Roleplay Game in 2016. Obviously, Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty was nominated for Best Narrative last year. We've seen remakes galore nominated.
There's
for,
literally one this year.
There's always there's seemingly always a remake. We argued last year, should there be like a remakes category or like a re-releases category? But I think for the most part, something like Final Fantasy VII is
it's a new game. It's not really a remake. It's like saying that like you couldn't judge like. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Max.
I was gonna say Resident Evil 4 is exactly a remake, right? That is the game in full, just remade to a higher standard, and that was nominated last year. And I think no one was upset by that.
Yeah, I think this is probably just getting more attention because it's Elden Ring, and it's like
and
I think
the first time a DLC has been nominated as its own thing
for Game of the Year specifically. I think is the thing, right? Like all those other examples, like from that Gamer article, are all like minor categories or like lesser categories, not the category. And I don't know. I'm kind of two minds. Like I can understand people being like, do we really need to watch Elden Ring win a bunch of awards again when it just won a bunch of awards? And I think that's valid, but also at the same time, it's like, yeah, I mean, I think this makes sense, right? Like, it's like...
I mean, if this was just called Shadow of the Erd Tree and released as a separate game, like Uncharted Lost Legacy, for example, because it's as big as something like that, we wouldn't be having this conversation. It would be it's a completely new game. Same with Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty. That is essentially a completely separate game. It just happens to be DLC for a pre-existing title.
Right.
I see no issue with them including this as like a separate subcategory. I think there's limits, and I think it's good that the jury is there to say, this passes a threshold. This could be considered like a whole new game, a whole new title, and that's why we're going to allow it.
Yeah, I think it's like it's a little it's one of those things where like I don't disagree with it as a rule, right? But I can understand why people would feel like it's maybe not in the spirit of the awards, right? To like want to honor new games, right? And like that this is it's new content, but it's, is it really a new game, right? Like it's built on the bones of a game that was already a Game of the Year award winner, right? So it's like,
I mean, you could say that was the same for Tears of the Kingdom. It was built on the bones of Breath of the Wild that was already a Game of
that's
the Year
way
winner.
more of a new game though, right? Like this doesn't have as much content as an Elden Ring 2. It's like it's a DLC. It's a 0.5. I'm not saying that to take anything away from it. It's just I understand why people.
Miles Morales, then, for example,
sure,
that is released as a separate game.
Yeah.
And people didn't have anything to say about that when it was considered.
That's also a standalone release,
also...
though, right? Can you play Erdtree without having the original game?
No, you can't.
That's
Shadow of the Erdtree is also, longer than Miles Morales is. It has more content than Miles Morales. It just so happens to be that you have to get to a certain point. And I do think that what From Software has done should be recognized, and I think that it is one of the best releases of the year. And I think that's valid. Personally, I don't have an issue with that, because you'd have to replace it with something lesser than it that technically fits the rules, for it to fit. But also, I agree with what this is saying in that it's saying like the Game Awards just makes their own rules up all the time. They mentioned here last year Dave the Diver got nominated for Best Indie Game. Not an indie game. Baldur's Gate 3 wasn't. They just, Cyberpunk 2077 won Best Ongoing Game, when just because they've released a DLC it doesn't make it an ongoing game. It's not a live service or a multiplayer. It's just they've added something else to it. So they just
it's based on
make
vibes.
The rules up.
It's like.
But also, we have to remember that these are nominated by the people that nominated the board, right? So if they deem this to be Game of the Year and enough people voted for it, it's valid. They probably haven't said you can't do this or you can do this. It's probably just that enough people have, for the first time, nominated a DLC for it to be recognised for this. The same way that enough people probably recognise Cyberpunk 2077 as the best ongoing game because that was how they wanted to do. Really ran out of breath on that sentence, sorry, but it's not necessarily Jeff Keighley's fault half the time, because it is also.
That's like a thing I always am frustrated by with like people's reaction to this of just like, it should be this, it should be that. And it's like, it's decided by a board, man. It's like, it's based on popular opinion, right? Like if you take issue with, like traditional games media outlets, like there's like other, like there's like YouTubers and other, like it's all people that review and talk about games who decide what ends up on this list. And if like the niche game that you like didn't make it on the list, it's probably because not enough people played it, right? Or like you think about like the way that the Oscars get voted on, right? Like the movie that wins Best Picture is not the movie everyone liked the best, it's the movie that everybody found the least objectable, right? And like that is something to consider when you think of like why this niche game that you really enjoyed that maybe is like a like a game like Forza is probably never going to be nominated for Game of the Year, right? Because it's like it's a driving game, and if you don't play driving games, you didn't play it. Whereas, like, these other games are like, they just have a wider appeal, right? Like, Elden Ring was one of the best-selling games the year that it came out. It sold an insane amount of copies, and all those people probably played the DLC and enjoyed it. So, of course, they want to nominate it. So, yeah, I mean, that's the whole point, right? Should be based on quality.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I don't think Elden Ring's going to win this category. I kind of feel like it, for the same reason. I think it gets nominated, but I think people don't vote for it because it's a DLC.
I don't know about that.
They award it to a different category.
I don't know. So I think. Oh, and let's get into our predictions because you just started predicting. I think it has a chance because I think the other games that are on here are like too niche. I think Astrobot is the one I could see having the best chance because it's like. it's a niche genre like sales wise, but I think it's the kind of genre that like commentators like are really happy to be like, look at this exceptional example of pure video games. Like I think like it's a thing that's obviously popular with critics and like enthusiasts. So I could see that being the case, but like I don't know, it's like Balatro, it's a niche kind of game. And I think that there are a lot of people who have like probably not played it because it's like, oh, I don't like card games or I don't like poker or whatever. And it's like just it has that like I don't
get
know.
that, but then I always think back to like It Takes Two. It was like that's a co-op game,
Yeah.
split screen co-op game, and like that won game of the year, and it was like a really big surprise. You know, it was up against some tough competition that year.
What
and
year
I
was
think
that?
2021.
Yeah. And then
And it was like,
and that's the thing is like that was a surprise, but I think it's like that is the kind of game that like Journey won game of the year, right? And it's like when a game has like an emotional hook and it's like in a specific like it's a niche genre to your point, but it's like again it's like Astrobot where it's like it's the type of niche genre that I think a lot of like capital G gamers
yeah, I get
will
that,
play.
but like it pushed out Ratchet and Clank. That
Yeah.
year, it pushed out Psychonauts 2
Pushed
that
out
year.
Metroid Dread and Resident Evil Village.
Which is crazy.
It was a really like out of left field win, but it's a phenomenal game.
But I
It's
think
absolutely fantastic.
honestly, you reading those other examples makes me more resolute in my thought that I think Elden Ring might actually win because I could see it being the exact same problem where it's like, oh, if you're this type of game, like if you really like indie games, you're going to vote for Balatro. If you're, a platformer,
I'm
like
gunning for Balatro.
Sony
I'm
Pony
all the
guy,
way.
you'll go for Ash. And like
If you're
Metaphor.
sexist and racist, you'll vote for Black Myth Wukong, right? Is that right?
And, Metaphor ReFantasio is like, it's another niche genre. And it's like, how many people are going to like how many people played Persona 5 after it got attention for being nominated and all and rather than like when it came out, right? And it's I don't know, like
The
maybe
Smash
I'm
Bros.
wrong,
Effect as well of that.
but yeah, I kind of feel like all of these games, none of them are like breakthrough mass market. Everyone played this enough that they will definitely win. But maybe to your point, it will be like It Takes Two, where they all take votes away from each other enough that like a random one just happens to eke it out. But like, but again, I think based on that, they would all kind of need to be that way. And Elden Ring is a follow up to a game that cleaned up at the Game Awards not 2 years ago. So it's like
that's your pick. Then you're gonna go with.
I'm gonna say Elden Ring. Yeah, I think that that's the most likely category.
I want Balatro. I'm really, really excited to hear the orchestra in the sort of lead up to the awards do the dun, 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 dun,
Oh
Yeah.
my god, that music! Yeah,
That'll be really
wicked.
fun.
I'm gonna go for Astrobot for my guess though, just because the chat around Astrobot of being like like you said, it's pure video game. It's really, really fun. It's great. I think Metaphor has a great chance because it's sort of the most recent release.
Like,
People
big
really
hit.
loved it. It's one of the highest rated games of the year. But I think Astrobot is going to be enough for people to I think it covered more ground than Metaphor did.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I feel like Metaphor is the game that like 3 years from now will be like, that was actually game of the year, but it didn't win. But I don't know. Maybe not. But I feel like it doesn't have the same groundswell around it that I feel like some other games in those more niche genres that have been able to win have. It's like the people that are playing it love it, but it's like it still has that, oh, it's a giant 100-hour turn-based JRPG. Like, how many people are going to jump into that sight unseen,
I'm going with Balatro. I love the game. It's by far my favorite game I played this year. I love the fact that it was made by one person. I love the fact that he's got 5 nominations this year in different categories.
Spoilers.
I just think it's incredible.
Well, I agree with that. I want it to be that. But is that what you
Is
think
that what's going to happen, though, is the question.
I
predicting,
kind of feel like it will. I
Okay.
really do. Because I feel like everyone in the industry loves this game. I have seen so many people since it came out on mobile talk about how
Mhm.
much they fucking love this game and are
Yeah,
addicted to it. It's available everywhere. I feel like when it was just like a niche PC game, it was one thing. Like, yeah, I could see that maybe is not going to win. But now the fact that, anyone with an iPhone or an Android phone can download this thing and play it kind of accelerates it to another level that is
Yeah.
so accessible that loads of people are going to know it, and it may just push it over the edge.
Maybe. You might be right. I don't know. I feel like it's one of those things where, like, this to me feels like it has a very similar energy to metaphor, where like the people that like it really like it and talk about it a lot, but I think there are like plenty of outlets I've not seen talk about it much at all, and like those are the people voting. So like, it's your job to talk about video games, and you're not talking about Balatro. Then like, how much did it connect? You know, and again, like it was obviously a massive fucking hit, but like, you know what I mean? Like it by its own metrics, right? Versus like, you know, when Elden Ring came out, like you couldn't escape the conversation around it, you know? So, I don't know.
Well,
Because I was playing it.
for the next category, we've got best game direction. We've got the exact same games. It's bizarre.
I wonder if that's happened before, where it's like literally the exact same lineup. Bless you, Max. This one,
Did I not mute for that?
No, I just saw you sneeze. You're good. So it's awarded for outstanding creative vision and innovation in game direction and design. This is one I could see Astrobot getting as like the consolation prize, you know, like where it's like, oh, you're not gonna get game of the year, so we'll give you best direction because it's the art direction was so good and the music's so good and it's, you know, it's got like this great sense of personality and, you know, all that.
Well, there is a
level
separate
design.
one. There's separate ones for art direction and music. I feel like this.
There are, but that's like I'm saying that's like the creative vision of it, right?
Which one of these did Hideo Kojima direct? Because that's the one that's going to win, right? This is the Hideo Kojima award, isn't it? I think Balatro deserves this one. Like
Me too.
You know, Elden Ring could also win this one though if nobody wants to give it Game of the Year. That could be a thing.
Was that all Miyazaki again? Do we know if that was like Miyazaki was just riding that wave?
I'm not sure.
I don't know why Black Myth Wukong's in this one because nothing about it was really like, oh, that's innovative or unique.
I gotta be honest with you. I think it's that first thing that you said, my guy. I think it's that there are a lot of fucking shitheads that vote on this kind of stuff, and like Black Myth Wukong was like the game in the culture war this year of like, if you're not woke, you like Black Myth Wukong.
I don't know. Like, you think that of the 100 outlets that nominate games, like that
some percentage of them are neckbeards? Yeah, I do. You know, it's a game has an 81% on Metacritic, and it's really weird to me that it's nominated in those two categories. Like
the only people I know that have sorry, I don't know anyone that's played this game by me. I know one person because he played my copy, and everyone else that I've seen talk about this game at length has at some point in their conversation about this game gone not woke, or you know, it's just nice to play a game that isn't trying to shove something down your throat the whole time.
And I just like that's. I don't know, man. Like, and maybe we're overreading into that narrative, but I do think it's interesting that I have not seen many people passionately talk about how it's one of the best Souls games. Like, I remember when Lies of P came out, that was the conversation around it. Was like, what an incredible Souls like, what, you know, grit, like, wow, like, you know,
my number 2 game 2023. You mean, yeah,
right. And the number one thing I heard about this game was what you said, right? Was like about the controversy and how actually it was a good thing. And it's just like, all right, I don't know. Like
game's fine. Game's okay.
I don't know. And
I'm not compelled to finish it, you know?
I don't want to put that out there like that's the reason, but it's like, I would be surprised if that wasn't part of it. Personally. But you know, I don't know. Do y'all have like one that's sticking out for you on this one?
I'm going Balatro for this one.
Yeah, me too, Balatro. Like,
everything
I really
about
feel like
it.
just the game is so clever. Like, I've never played anything like it.
Yeah,
it's so smart, and I feel like that is good game direction. Yeah. And it really kind of
innovation, right?
You.
Too.
Yeah, there's a lot of innovation.
Consistent personality, consistent style. You know, all of these things that it is so tightly designed, and it all takes place on one screen, and yet it's infinitely playable, and that is so clever. And the way that each game feels unique, and it
makes you feel smart. Like, I feel so smart when I like figure it out. You know, like it's just like, oh, this is clicked. I know exactly what I'm going to play. I'm going to do a round of, you know, pairs, and I'm going to have this Joker and this Joker, and this combo is going to be fucking great. And like, I'm going to completely go straight through, you know, and there's so much like there to unlock. Like, it's such a special game. And I think if you're right and it doesn't get Game of the Year, I feel like it gets best game direction as kind of the consolation, in the same way that you kind of feel that about Astrobot, Pete.
Yeah. I'm going to stick with Astrobot. I think you guys are making a compelling case, but I'm trying to read the tea leaves of, like, I think more people have played Astrobot than Balatro on this.
Oh, I disagree on
this
that.
list.
Like, I feel like the number of people that have played Balatro probably outweighs it now. It's on mobile.
I think overall, yeah, but I think who are voting. That's my personal guess, but I might be off base there. Next up, best narrative, outstanding storytelling and narrative development in a game. We got Final Fantasy VII, Rebirth, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, Metaphor ReFantasio, Senua Saga, Hellblade 2, and Silent Hill 2. I'm gonna guess Metaphor.
Senua Saga came out this year.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I don't know,
split on
like
this.
why
I'm
they
gonna
decided to use 100% of that game's marketing budget for every year before it came out, but yeah, it's fucking.
They
really
showed like a
insane.
great trailer at the Game Awards like 2 years ago. And
Every
that was the last
year
time we
before it
saw
came out, rather than the
Yeah.
year it came out when people actually needed to be motivated to play it. Whatever.
Metaphor. I'm gonna say Metaphor.
I think it's
'cause
Metaphor. Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like that is the case too. Like, I've not heard anyone talk about Silent Hill. I really have no clue.
No,
Like,
yeah, it came and went.
yeah.
But I think people were also worried that it was going to be shit. I was worried it was going to be shit. So
And
when
then
it
it wasn't.
Because it
And-
was Bloober Team, that's why.
yeah,
yeah.
but I heard that it was good, but that's kind of it. Like I
Yeah.
don't feel like there was a ton. Also, it's a remake, so it's like whatever.
Shouldn't be nominated.
Oh, maybe it gets it then if it was a Kojima game.
I
first
do
time
think
around.
that nominating
Oh, yeah,
a
good
remake
point.
for best narrative is kind of interesting. Like
That's a Kojima narrative you're talking about there, Pete. Like, let the man
Right,
have
yeah,
it,
and he
you
wrote
know?
it
He
how
never
long
wins
ago?
anything.
This is Jeff Keighley's best friend. You're trying
right.
to like slag off here, Pete. It is a bit pathetic that Jeff's like, oh, Hideo, and Hideo's like, okay, like he's the cool kid, and Hideo Kojima's like the one who wants. Sorry, Jeff Keighley's the one who wants to be the cool kid, friends with the cool kids.
Yeah.
Can I hold your bag, please, Hideo? And he's like, I don't care. Do what you want.
a little bit of that energy.
Yeah.
Next up, we got Best Art Direction, Outstanding Creative and/or Technical Achievement in Artistic Design and Animation, Astrobot, Black Myth Wukong again, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree again, Metaphor ReFantasio again, and Neva, which is, if you're not familiar, that's that one. It's from the studio that made Gree, right? And it's it's like the woman with the like wolf dog, whatever, with the deer ears, and it's like a spirit. Very, very pretty game. Very beautiful.
While it is very beautiful, I do think that it wasn't like, I wouldn't say it's an achievement because it very much did what Gree did back in the day.
Yeah, I get that.
And it's still gorgeous, still a gorgeous game. And like it does make you feel things. But I do think this has to be the Metaphor Fantasio because it does the same thing that Persona 5 did. But again, it's doing what Persona 5 did.
Yeah, it is doing the same, and I don't think it does it as well. I don't think it quite pulls it off as well. I really feel like this one goes to Astrobot. Like,
That's kind of
Agreed.
what I'm
the
thinking too.
animations are just
Yeah.
phenomenal in that game.
Elden Ring looks like Elden Ring. Black Myth Wukong has a constant DLSS fuzz over the whole game. No matter, even if you turn it all the way up to 100%, it's still up-resed on all the consoles to because they use Unreal Engine 5 and it can't fucking do the job it's supposed to do and scale properly. But Astrobot is crisp, technically like sound, 60 FPS, never breaks. It does all these crazy things. You become a teeny tiny mouse and everything is still exactly the same quality as if when you're full size. You know, it's just so impressive and never lets up. And I do think Astrobot deserves it for that reason.
Yeah, I agree.
Across the board, we also
Yeah, we did.
Metaphor too. So
Best score in music is next. Outstanding music, inclusive of score, original song, and/or licensed soundtrack. We've got Astrobot, Rebirth, and Metaphor are all repeats. Silent Hill 2's back, and then Stellar Blade is the last one. I feel like this is a tougher one because I think
I don't have a clue.
Astrobot is known for having a good soundtrack. Every Atlas game is known for having a fire soundtrack, and every Final Fantasy game is known for having a fire soundtrack. And I feel like Final Fantasy like often wins in this category.
Yeah, also Persona 5 won the year that came out, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, which makes sense. And also, like, I wonder if Rebirth is going to win in many other categories. So I am maybe this is the one where people are like, this is the thing we can definitely give it. I don't know.
Astrobot. All I can remember from Astrobot is do. And I'm pretty sure that was Astro's Playroom on like the very beginning of the PS5's lifestyle. So I don't actually. That hasn't really stuck with me. If I had to make an educated guess here, I'm gonna say Metaphor.
I'm gonna go with
Okay.
Rebirth.
I'll go with Astrobot just to make it fun.
Cool. Keep it spicy.
Yeah.
All right, next up, best audio design, best in-game audio and sound design. This is like SFX and, other things like that.
Yeah.
We got Astrobot, again, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, Senua Saga, Hellblade 2, and Silent Hill 2.
I would go with Hellblade 2 for this,
Yeah, because they do the whole,
play it up the first time around. They do the kind of core audio thing of like, this is what someone with schizophrenia would experience kind of thing with headphones on.
Yeah.
Well, I do agree with that. I also think Astrobot has the really cool DualSense stuff.
Yeah,
all of,
and how it creates dynamic audio through using the controller microphone and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. I'm inclined to agree with you there that I think Astrobot's probably the other one that you would think. I'm gonna go with Hellblade 2 though. I think
I'll have Astrobot. I like keeping it spicy. One of us has got to win, so I'd rather we not all say the same.
I'm going for the lemon and herb here. I'm trying to win.
I'm extra hot.
Next up, we got best performance. We have Brianna White from Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Hannah Tell from Life is Strange Double Exposure, Humberly Gonzalez from Star Wars Outlaws, Luke Roberts from Silent Hill 2, and Melina Jurgens from Senua Saga Hellblade 2. I think I'm going to go with Melina. She got a lot of attention for her work as Senua previously. It's that same, very technical oriented, and I don't think any of these other nominees are, I love Hannah, right? But it's is Life is Strange connecting with this, the largest number of people? Probably not. Star Wars Outlaws was not received well. Final Fantasy Rebirth, it's you're one voice in an ensemble cast of great voice actors. Silent Hill 2 wasn't a ton of attention on it. Senua is the character in that game. So I think this is one that I think I could see them winning again.
I agree with that. Nice to see some representation for blonde white women finally after all these years. But it is actually nice to see a heavily women focused category in this. But I'm going to go with you on Hellblade. Yeah,
I agree. I have not played any of these games this year, so I don't know.
No.
But I would go with the same guess that it would be for Hellblade.
Why do I know Hannah Tell? Why do I know her?
Next up, we got games for impact. This is for thought-provoking game with a pro-social meaning or message. We have Closer the Distance, Indica, Neva, Life is Strange Double Exposure, Senua Saga Hellblade 2, and Tales of Kinzera Zhao.
I want to go with Tales of Kinzera just because,
I mean,
I feel like there was a big... Abby Backer had a lot of support, and it did do that job very, very well.
That was the thing that I think even in critical reviews, people were like, the story's good, and it's it is a good exploration of Bantu myth and father-son story. I could see that. But again, it's how many people played that game?
Yeah. Well, that for me was the standout feature of the game. My review was fairly scathing of the combat and the traversal and the actual Metrovania elements of it, all of that stuff. But it was the story and the characters and a man wanting to spend that extra time with his father. In fact, it's a story that I went back and thought about. I lost my own grandfather exactly a month ago yesterday, and when I was thinking about this game, I was like, okay, I how do you traverse grief? It's not something I've ever had to do before, and I was like, I played something that went through this just this year, and I'm thinking about that as a way to navigate that, and I can see that being the standout feature, and that maybe when I think about these other games, Neva, for example, I don't know what the pro-social thought-provoking message of that was, because it was all very I don't know, I guess it was a bit anti-pollution, but in the same way that Another Crab's Treasure was, where it's that's just it's not necessarily making a point about it. So let's say Tales of Kinzera. Let's do it.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice. I'm gonna go with Life is Strange for this one, because I think for the folks that like Life is Strange, maybe this is the one that that they double down on it for. So that's my guess.
This is the peak genre, the peak like the peak nonsense
Category.
selection. I think this is the category. That's what I'm looking
You know,
for. Yeah,
I like a sad game that makes you think.
yeah. If there's like animals in a high school navigating tough social situations,
yeah.
I'm gonna show up
this
for that.
category and it's Pete's game. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the deal with Life is Strange this time around? What's the what's the kind of underlying tone on that?
I don't really know because I haven't played it yet. Because it came out literally within a day of Dragon Age, and I opted to start that first because I've been waiting for it for 10 years. I don't know what the pro-social message is of it or anything like that because it's a murder mystery, but so I don't know. But like, I also feel like sometimes they nominate games in this category because of like who the main character is, and like, you know, Life is Strange is like very queer, so like that might be why. So I'm not sure.
Okay, I'm gonna go for Hellblade 2 again.
I think that's a good choice too.
Because I know people really received the first one. The problem is I don't know how many people played the second one because no one knew it came out.
I feel like you're basing a lot of your opinions on this game on the first game, and I don't know if that.
I don't think that's a winning strategy, but there's a reason Steve hasn't won any predictions in 3 years, so we'll see.
That is true. That is true.
Just teasing. Okay, best ongoing game. Game that evolves the player experience over time. We have Destiny 2, Diablo 4, Final Fantasy 16, Fortnite, and Helldivers 2. I think it's Helldivers 2. For novelty.
Did you say Final Fantasy 16?
Is that wrong?
Yeah.
Oh, that's wrong.
14.
It's 14, right? 14's the MMO. 16 is the one that came out like last year.
So the issue is Helldivers 2 it was really good at the start, then lost its player base and it sort of faltered because of the decisions they were making. So I don't think that gets it. Diablo 4, again, very similar of like it came out, people didn't like it. I don't know if this DLC did enough to say that. Destiny 2 is just hemorrhaging players. Final Fantasy 14 is consistent. Fortnite, I don't know what it's done this year to be in the conversation. I don't really know. I know they did the original map again. They added Snoop Dogg, which, you know, again another cheap payday for him. That was a conversation we held off podcast. I just realised. I don't know. Someone else talk.
Didn't they add the Guitar Hero stuff this year as well?
That was last year.
That was last year.
Or was it?
Yeah, it was that, the Lego stuff, and the other. There was like
the Lego stuff.
That was
yeah.
all last year. Though.
Rocket League shit as well.
Right. Yeah.
Fortnite OG was a big thing there, wasn't it?
It's a pretty big deal. Yeah, I could see them getting a nod for that. I feel like it's going to be Helldivers for novelty's sake. I think what Max is saying is like a good reason that it might not win, but I feel like all these games have been nominated before. Several of them have won before. If you're going to give, like, this is the category it can win, so.
Did Final Fantasy get a new expansion this year? Is that why it's on here?
I'm not sure.
Because
I know you get a new expansion every year.
I know Diablo and Destiny both did, which is why they're kind of on the list.
I think they're also just like they're the games that always end up on this list. Like it's always like two or three of the same games, and then it's like, what are the two new ones that everyone's? It's like,
yeah. This is a tough one. I'll go with Helldivers 2 as well. Max, you're saying Fortnite, were you?
No. I think I'm going to say Final Fantasy 14 because it's like consistent and it always shows up.
Excuse me. Yeah, that makes sense.
I just don't think Helldivers 2 did enough for people to still be like, oh yeah, that's the best ongoing game. When really, if anything, it showed that it had a huge opening and then wasn't able to really keep up with the momentum or keep players happy for long enough. That's my opinion.
I think that's a good guess. Next, we got Best Community Support, recognizing a game for outstanding community support, transparency, and responsiveness, inclusive of social media activity and game updates and patches. This list includes Baldur's Gate 3, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, Helldivers 2, and No Man's Sky. I'm going to say Baldur's Gate 3 takes this one, just because I think this year, right, like it came out late last year, and it stayed in the conversation for like most of the year. As like new people were getting into it, and I think a lot of that had to do with like Larian being very like transparent and talking about their process, and they added a couple of big patches that like finalized some things, and people were very like happy about those things. I just feel like every time this game comes up, it's positive, and a lot of that is interactions with the community. So I feel like Also, it's probably a game that like a lot of people are happy to give flowers to if they didn't vote for it last year. That kind of stuff. I think it's the one.
I can't believe No Man's Sky's on here. Like, I don't feel like we've not heard about that game in so long.
Well, you're not part of the community. That's the thing. You know?
Yeah.
I've got 2 updates. See, the reason this one probably wasn't on the list originally, and Steve just had to add it, is because I haven't paid attention to any of it.
Yeah, no, I haven't either. That's why.
Oh, my bad. I added a category, so now we're doing 21 categories.
Yeah.
Sorry, we can take this one out if you want. That's fine.
Yeah, I had no clue about any of these really. That's why I didn't add it. We can.
I don't know enough.
No,
about
I'm right. So I think let's keep it in. You guys just guess.
We'll go
This
with
year they
BP3
released
across
4
on
patches
all
for
of
No
them.
Man's Sky, by the way.
4 patches. That's big.
5, sorry. February came with Omega, March, July, September, and October. So they've had like 5 different patches, like updates. That's more than they've done in any year previous, from the looks of this. I'm going to go for No Man's Sky for that reason alone, and
Cool.
because I know literally nothing else. Why did you put me down for BG3?
Because I've just copied and pasted it, Max. Calm down.
Relax. All right.
I just don't like words being put in my mouth.
Next up, we got Best Indie for outstanding creative and technical achievement in a game made outside the traditional publisher system. And we have Animal Well, Balatro, Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, Neva, and UFO 50. I think this is Balatro's to lose.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I like
the
Animal
only-
Well a lot. I just don't think that without Donkey behind it, it would not have done as well as it did. I think it's a great game. It's a game that I never would have even touched if it wasn't for Donkey.
I also
And I
don't
think
feel
that-
like it carried a ton of like it came out and it got a ton of really good buzz and everybody was talking about how it was really great. But I don't feel like it necessarily stayed in the conversation the way that the games that usually win these categories do. And I think that's true of all of these games that aren't Balatro.
Yeah, I agree. No hate to it. It's in my top. It's in my list of this year. I'm not going to say where it is.
Yeah, no shame in it being the
spoiler.
second best indie game that came out in a year where there were like a dozen really good indie games. There are several games that we talked about that you loved or I loved that did not make this list. So, best debut indie game. Game created by a new studio: Animal Well, Balatro, Minor Lords, Pacific Drive, and The Plucky Squire. So because I think Balatro is gonna win, I feel like maybe you give this to somebody else, and maybe this is where Animal Well gets its flowers because like
I'm with you on that.
Big Mode is like a new publisher and everything, and it has the Donkey connection, and there was a lot of attention on we're a new studio and we're putting out games, and everyone was like, okay, and then it was actually a big hit. So like
I know Manor Lords did really well. Wasn't Manor Lords early access?
Yeah, well, that early access is allowed. We established that with Hades.
yeah,
Hades
that's true.
was 1 point. Wait, Hades 1?
Hades 1 was early access when it got nominated initially.
What, in 2020?
And I think PUBG as well before that.
That's correct.
I'm pretty sure PUBG 1.0 dropped the day of the Game Awards.
No, well, that's
It
convenient.
was nominated
Yeah.
before that, then though.
Yeah.
That is funny though.
Yeah. It is early access, yeah. Right, I already said Animal Well for this, haven't I?
I mean, you could say something else.
No,
I'd like it to be
I
Plucky
forgot I'd
Squire
spoken.
because it's not been spoken about anywhere else, and I know people did like that game, and it's cool to see that finally come to fruition.
It was good, but
I feel like
the word best takes it out of that for me.
Yeah, I agree. I
But then
enjoyed
in
it, but
in the
I don't
same
think
vein, then, like if the best indie is Balatro, then the best debut indie should be the same game because it's the best indie, and if it's debuting as well, it should theoretically be the same. It's only because people vote strangely.
Well, yeah, but like that's what we're doing, right? Like you're trying to read the
Yeah.
tea leaves, and I also
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it's like best debut game created by a new independent studio. It's like I don't know, like to your point, Balatro was made by like one person. Is that really a studio? It's like I can see how you talk yourself into voting for something else.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going with Balatro.
I'm not changing, I'm sticking.
Yeah, I'm going with Balatro.
That's cool.
I'm going to go with Balatro for the next category. Too.
I don't think that's a bad guess. I really don't. We'll see though. Best mobile games, our next one. We have AFK Journey, Balatro, Pokemon Trading Game, Card Game Pocket, Wuthering Waves,
Wuthering.
Waves.
Like Wuthering Heights.
Okay, and then Zenless Zone Zero.
Where's your Kate Bush impression? Come on. We always get an impression, Max.
Wuthering.
That's good. I don't know, because it's like I think Balatron's the right answer, but like, did most people play it on mobile or did they play it on Steam?
It doesn't matter. It came out on mobile and then was the best-selling mobile, best paid mobile game app for a long time, and it got a lot of people into it, and there was a lot of attention for it. And the only competition I can think it would have would be Pokemon Trading Card Game, and that came out like 2 weeks ago.
Right.
So
recency bias.
Well,
NIP.
I still think Balatron's going to win it, but I agree that people like this Pokemon thing, but I don't think they like it as much as Balatro. Because Balatro is you buy it, you play it, you have it forever. Pokemon is an ongoing. Oh, I've got to pay to open this.
Right.
Stuff.
Yeah, but I think it also comes down to like which one have people played more. Right? Like this game came out 2 weeks ago and it's nominated. Is that because a shitload of people, it's the only mobile game they played this year, so they're going to nominate it? Or are they going to go with, well, Balatro is actually the best game, but like I didn't play it. You know, it's like
I mean, the nominations, I presume, is the outlets, the 100 outlets give multiple games that they put in, right? So Balatro might be the one that they want to win.
I think my understanding is that every outlet submits 5 games, and then they pick the 5 that, or whatever, however many there are in the category, right? Yeah, no, so I don't know. You're right. I'm gonna go with Pokemon and keep it interesting.
Okay, Max,
I think that could be an upset.
Balatro.
I think that is probably the right answer, but we'll see. I'm gonna bank on people voting with their gut and not thinking too hard. Okay, let's see. Next one that we're gonna do is best action game. We got Black Myth Wukong, Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Helldivers 2, Stellar Blade, and Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2.
I think Space Marine has this.
Really?
I was surprised by the response to Space Marine when it came out, because it was a game I was excited for. It's a game I enjoyed.
It got a lot of attention.
I was surprised by how much people really seemed to dig it, and it had a similar sort of attention to Black Myth, I think, which is a shame. But I do think a lot of people liked it. I think if the votes, considering Black Myth Wukong is the only one here that's also nominated for Game of the Year, I think that probably will have it. But I think I'm going to be. I think Warhammer could surprise. I'm really tired, sorry guys. I think Warhammer could surprise. You know.
I think I'm gonna vote for Black Myth for the reason that you said. Is I think that it won't win Game of the Year or Best Direction or any of those other categories that like it definitely doesn't deserve to win. Based on just anecdotal, like again, like games that scored near like 80 on Metacritic don't win Game of the Year. So yeah, I feel like this is probably the one where it gets its consolation prize the same way that I think like Metaphor will probably be like best role-playing game or something like that, because it's like, yeah, you're not going to win Game of the Year, but you can be the best game in your category, and like that's what you get. That's my guess.
I'm gonna go with Helldivers 2. I've not played any of these games, but I know that if Helldivers 2 doesn't get, say, best ongoing game or best multiplayer game, I think it's gonna pick up in a category. And I kind of feel like this is the only other one it's nominated in, so I'll go with Helldivers 2 here.
I think, excuse me, I'll be yawning. I think that makes sense too. Best action adventure. For best action adventure game combining combat with traversal and puzzling, we've got Astrobot, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, Silent Hill 2, Star Wars Outlaws, and The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. I'm gonna say Astrobot.
Yeah, I think Astrobot's gonna win it, but if I was casting my vote now, it would be Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, because when I read that combining combat with traversal and puzzle solving, that is the Lost Crown's like shit. That is exactly what it does.
I think Astrobot's just
all of these
easily
games,
the most popular game on this list, and also was very good and did all those things well.
I'm gonna mix things up and say Lost Crown anyway.
Cool.
I've already got Lost Crown down.
I'll do it then. I'll still do it.
Cool.
Pique me the interesting one.
What do you want to do?
No, go with your gut. Don't bake it based on what the other person picked.
I wasn't changing it.
Okay, best RPG. Best game designed with rich player character customization and progression, including massively multiplayer experiences. We got Dragon's Dogma 2, Shadow of the Erd Tree, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, and Metaphor ReFantasio. Like I said before, I'm going to go with Metaphor because I think it is nominated in a ton of categories, and I think this is the one it's most likely to win.
I'm going for Shadow of the Erd Tree for this one.
Cool.
I think it's strange that Dragon's Dogma 2 is nominated here.
Because it doesn't run.
It runs absolutely fine if you spend enough money on it. It's just
the three people in the world have been able to play it.
It just didn't land in like so many ways for me, and I don't think I'm alone in that either.
Mhm. I'm gonna go with Shadow of the Erdtree. I don't think this picks up Game of the Year because it's a DLC, but I think it picks up in the subcategory that it's most known for.
I think that's a good call. Okay, then we got Best Fighting Game. We got Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, Grand Blue Fantasy vs. Rising, Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics, Multiversus, and Tekken 8.
I think this has to be Sparking Zero, right? That game did numbers from memory. The Marvel vs. Capcom thing is very cool that happened. People were jazzed about that. But I
Yeah,
think
it's
Dragon
really
Ball
sick,
Sparking
but does it
Zero-
win Game of the like? Probably not, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm think you're probably right that it's going to be like a modern game.
Was
I-
Tekken 8 this year?
I think it is.
It was January this year.
Yeah, it was the beginning of the year.
Wow.
I feel like I'm going to
Do you
say.
know, I couldn't believe that Multiverses was on the list. Like, it blew my mind.
I think
that
that-
came back and
They released it
people don't
twice.
play it still.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that probably has to do with there not being a ton of other games in the category, you know? Because, like, and you know me, I really liked that game when it came out, but it came back and did not light up the way that I think they wanted it to. And it seems to still kind of be in decline. I'm going to guess Tekken 8 because I think that that's the game that the most serious fighting fans will have been most likely to have spent the most time in. That's my guess.
Yeah. What was the one from last year? Was it Street Fighter 6?
Yeah, Street Fighter was last year, and then Mortal Kombat was last year too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
go
it was.
Tekken 8. Actually, I'm gonna change my mind from Sparking Zero and go.
I think Dragon
Tekken
Ball
8.
is the next best answer for what it's worth, but I do think it's probably going to be Tekken.
I think I remember that people were enjoying that. That was the big pull at Evo as well.
Yeah,
I'm going with Tekken. Does it still hold the record for the longest running continuous story in any media franchise? I think it does.
is that a fact?
Really?
Is that a fact?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
What? Not Star Wars. What?
The longest running
Continuous.
story in video games without reboots,
Oh.
retcons, or revisions.
Damn. That's good
It's
continuity.
still going?
No, yeah, that makes sense because I'm trying to think of other ones, and most of them have some kind of
A reboot, like
Yeah.
because the 2010s they were just like, let's do the name of the game again, but it's a
One.
different game, but it's
Yeah.
the same game. Yeah.
well,
What
and
happened
like
last year with Mortal Kombat?
yeah, like Mortal Kombat 1 is like an in-universe reboot, but it is a reboot.
Mhm.
It's not like here's a clean slate. It's like an
Yeah,
event
yeah.
happened in the last game, and now the universe has been restructured or whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's
Like
technically
Tomb Raider did it.
Yeah.
God of War technically did it.
God of
No.
War. I would say is not a reboot. It's continuous,
No.
but it's not as long, right? The first one of those came out on the PS2. The first Tekken came out on the PS1.
Yep.
So
When I was a young boy, I had Tekken 3, and there were two more before that. That's how
Loved
numbers
Tekken
work.
3. Tekken
one of my
3
first
was
video
the one.
games was Tekken 2 on the PlayStation. I grabbed it at Costco on my way out the door and was like, "Hey, I get to play as a boxing raccoon and a kangaroo, excuse me, and a giant bear. Fantastic!"
Mm-hmm.
I love King. So good.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, Armor
Eddie.
King.
Eddie Gordo.
Eddie's also
Eddie.
sick. Yeah, Tekken has such a good roster of characters. There are
Oh,
like
yeah.
so many like absolute bangers.
Mokujin, Yoshimitsu, Ogre, True Ogre. These are all
Yeah.
Tekken 3 characters, by the way. Bear, the other
Panda.
bear who's a panda, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Great.
many good ones.
good
Oh,
stuff.
who's Gone? Remember Gone?
Yeah. He's like
Ah.
the tree man,
No, that's
Oh, no, that's
Mokujin.
the-
Gon was the tiny little
the little
dinosaur.
Agumon
And
with
the
the boxing
video,
gloves.
the video like story for him was a continuous loop. It began, and then he goes through all this crazy stuff, and right at the end he gets kicked off of a cliff, and then it starts again, and he's falling off the cliff. And that blew my mind as a kid. I was like, oh, it's so funny that it starts again.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Oh, I need to watch that. I'm gonna watch that in a bit.
All right, last couple categories. Next one is Best Family Game, the best game appropriate for family play, irrespective of genre or platform. This is Astrobot, Princess Peach Showtime, Super Mario Party Jamboree, The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, and The Plucky Squire.
It's Astrobot for me, but I think it's very funny that they have to say irrespective of platform because they know this is the Nintendo award. Usually.
Yeah, usually.
I'm gonna say Astrobot.
I feel like it's Astrobot too, just because it's objectively the best game in this category.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I kind of feel like great games to play with the family is maybe not Astro Ball. Like maybe you would play Mario Party or Princess
Hmm.
Peach if they're younger
Yeah.
players.
Based on the
I don't think.
category, I think Mario Party Jamboree would be the one I would pick. But like, I think people
Yeah.
are gonna vote for Astrobot because Astrobot fucks, and it's any category where it's just up against a bunch of games that were not as good as it. It's obviously gonna clean up. I think because it was such a darling. Like the only criticism people had of it was it was too focused on Sony, and it's like okay, it's like. It's a good game though, right?
Why are you quoting me? Why are you Why are you doing a voice that's not my voice to say words that I've said? I can't believe it.
I don't want to do the accent, It's
You couldn't.
No one
Okay.
can do Max's accent. It's unique.
So here's the thing.
fast,
I
is the
know we're
problem.
not doing best sim strategy, but I really hope Age of Mythology Retold wins. That's all I have to say.
It won't win.
It won't, but that's all I have to say
I
about that.
saw it there.
So
I
you
thought of
have you have an answer, so maybe we should do it.
No, because I don't know any of the other fucking games, but I
Don't
know
make
Age of
him have an
Mythology
answer.
Retold's not going to win. I just don't know the other games.
Okay, let's see. What do we got next here? We got best multiplayer. So this is Call of Duty Black Ops 6, Helldivers 2, Super Mario Party Jamboree, Tekken 8, and Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. I'm going to guess Helldivers here again.
This is Helldivers. This is the Helldivers category. This is obviously Helldivers.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, then we got our last two categories. These are the silly ones. We got Best Adaptation, recognizing outstanding creative work that faithfully and authentically adapts a video game to another entertainment medium. We have Arcane, Fallout, Knuckles, Like a Dragon, Yakuza, and Tomb Raider: The Legend of Lara Croft.
There was a Knuckles movie?
No. So here's the thing, and I'm gonna tell you about Knuckles. So Knuckles is one of the most unhinged things that's been developed, and it's way better than it has any right to be. It is a like road trip buddy comedy, like Odd Couple story. Where did you see any of the Sonic movies?
The
I've seen the
first one.
first one.
Do you
I fell
remember?
asleep during the second one.
So do you remember how it's like James Marsden is like Sonic's, buddy, and he has the guy who's like his partner at the police department. He's played by Adam Pally, who's like a comedic actor who's been in a bunch of sitcoms and stuff. That character, his like the sidekick, and Knuckles go on a little like road trip adventure, and I gotta say, it was pretty funny. I watched it when I watched it the same way I've watched every Sonic property, which was I was sick at home on the couch languishing and did not have the bandwidth to watch something that was like gonna take a lot of energy, so I was like, let me just pop this on and I'll see if it's like anything, and it was pretty good. It was a
That's why I
Paramount
fell asleep
Plus
to Sonic
exclusive,
2.
so I'm sure no
Oh,
one
no
has
wonder
seen
I
it.
didn't fucking hear
Yeah.
about
Oh
it.
yeah, I didn't know that. No, yeah, that's why no one's seen it. No one has that here.
Yeah.
This is like when they were like, do you remember when Anthony Mackie came out and was like, how did everyone feel about what the hell was it
Twisted
called?
Metal
Twisted Metal
on
I was like,
Peacock,
what do you
which
mean?
again,
Who-
right, was apparently pretty good, but nobody saw it.
Yeah, who got Peacock?
Yeah. So I'll tell you what. If you like the Sonic movies, Knuckles, not bad. Should it exist? Probably not. But it exceeded my expectations. Idris Elba,
Alright.
little buddy
I'm
comedy.
sick right now, so I'll
Is
have a
that
look.
your pick then? You're going with
No.
Knuckles?
I think it's
Oh, okay.
Fallout.
Yeah, I think it's
Fallout set
too.
the fucking world on
Fallout was
fire. That was
great.
like a
All I
huge
had a
thing.
moment.
Yeah. And like so did like Arcane, like the first season I felt had that same juice, and I think it won this last year.
Yeah, but like, did you see the jump in like people playing Fallout when Fallout
yeah,
came
that's
out?
my
It was
point.
like,
Is like
it was like, wow.
We spoke about that like for like 3 fucking weeks.
Yeah.
I've not heard the end of Fallout since that came out.
No,
From Pete alone.
And it's also like this next season's coming out. They're already talking about it. Everybody's excited. Like, I think Fallout is easily the one to be. Like, I think if you were going to poll people and be like, what are the best video game adaptations ever, it would probably be in the top 5. Right? Like, I feel like it has to. I feel like it has to win. I'd be really surprised if it wasn't.
I would be too.
Okay, next we got most anticipated game, recognizing an announced game that has demonstrably illustrated potential to push the gaming medium forward.
I really feel like Nintendo should just be like the next Zelda game or the next Mario game. Just announce it, and then it can be here.
Well,
every
this
year,
one
and
is
they can
fan
pair up with
chosen.
awards.
This is one of the ones that fans decide what the nominees are, I think. So you got to take that up with the Nintendo community. The sequel to
It's
Tears
nice.
of the Kingdom could win the next.
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, but that's what I mean. They announced that, but they haven't announced like
Right.
the next one yet. So if they just like the sequel, to Pikmin.
They can win every year.
The sequel to Animal Crossing.
I love that the first one you pulled was Pikmin. I love the idea of a world where Pikmin is the most anticipated game.
That's
That'd be great.
What a wonderful world. You know that meme that it's like society if and it's like a perfect future utopia? That's my answer.
if Pikmin 5 came out.
If it was the most anticipated game.
Yeah.
All right, so
Read them out.
the nominees are Death Stranding 2 On the Beach, Ghost of Yotoi, which is the sequel to Ghost of Tsushima if you weren't familiar, Grand Theft Auto 6, and then Metroid Prime 4 and Monster Hunter Wilds.
Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, please. It's annoying that the one time that this list has like more than one game I'm like super jazzed about is the same year it's up against Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yeah, because it's Grand Theft Auto, right? Like it's
obviously
obviously
Grand
that's
Theft
what's gonna
Auto
fucking
6.
win. Yeah, it's like that game is gonna, it's gonna move the needle in such an insane degree. Yeah, it's like it's gotta be Grand Theft Auto, doesn't it?
Also, Death Stranding 2, that's just Jeff, just get off Kojima's dick, man. Like who's that?
The fans picked this one. People want it.
Fans plus Jeff Keighley. And Jeff Keighley.
I think they were trying to order a cocktail and they put down the wrong thing. They were trying to order a sex on the beach and they put Death Stranding and 2 on the beach instead.
Fair.
And that's how I ended up on it.
Fair.
I was about to kick off that Death Stranding's first on this list, which shows his
favoritism.
Then I realized it's alphabetical order.
But it's in This is like the most like capital G gamer going after like, oh yeah, look at Jeff, he's such a fanboy, he put it first on the list.
He went back in time. He made the alphabet just because he knew that Death Stranding was going to come first.
It's fantastic.
Do you know what my most anticipated game is? Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah,
I mean the old Yellow Pages trick there.
Mine is Ghost of Yotei, but like I'm picking Grand Theft Auto to win.
Yeah.
I can't wait for Ghost of Yotei, but yeah.
Woke.
Huh?
I'm excited for it features a woman, so we all know how that's gonna go. It's gonna be a real shame when Sucker Punch goes broke.
So glad I don't have Twitter X anymore. So glad.
Yeah, it's good. It's really fun.
We're gone, by the way. If you're someone who ever follows us on Twitter or X, us individually or us as FlipScreen Games, kaput. Doesn't exist. Follow us on Blue Sky instead.
We're all on Blue Sky now.
We don't. Are you not, Steve?
No, I'm on Threads. I just
Threads.
There. Yeah.
All I get from Threads is rage bait. Or there was the one time I clicked on a fitness thing. It was like how to hit your protein, and clicked on that. Downloaded the app again because I was like, oh yeah. And because they knew that got me in, I was just fed.
Yeah. You get pigeonholed also. At the moment, I'm in queer thirst trap threads. And
That's a great place to be.
I'm okay with that.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. That's fine.
But that's not what I wasn't getting fitness stuff. I was getting women posing in their gym wear going, I've been working on my glutes today. And I'm like, that's not I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, you're in fitness thirst trap threads.
Yeah.
Everything's a thirst trap.
Everything's
on
a thirst trap, yeah.
Or to your point, there's a lot of bait for sure.
It's hilarious.
I get weights. There's so many like hot take, and it's like it's not a fucking hot take. You did this so people would say it wasn't a hot take. Like fuck you. Like people just like farming engagement.
What's an opinion that has you like this? That picture is like the one of the guy from Rapunzel with the sword coming out. Fucking hell.
It's funny.
If I never see that picture again, it'll be too soon.
All right, so we got our predictions. Like we said, it's in 3 weeks. We'll have an episode then. We'll go and see who won and everything, obviously, along like our review of the show and whatnot. But I'd love to hear, from you guys if you're gonna follow along and do your own bingo card. Like, what are your predictions? What do you think? Who do you think is gonna clean up in what category? And I'm interested to see like what game. Let me just ask this to the panel: what game do you think is gonna win the most awards this year?
Balatro.
I kind of think it's going to be Astrobot. It's nominated in the most categories, I think.
I think Astrobot is probably going to get the most, but I do think Balatro is going to surprise. Not surprise. I think it's going to get what it deserves.
It should win the way it's supposed to because it's awesome. Yeah. It's one of the best games of the year by like a lot.
Wicked.
Yeah. I'll be surprised if it's not in all of our top threes. At least that would be my guess, but we'll see. Before we wrap it up here, I did just want to kind of throw it out to the panel. Were there any games that you were anything you were surprised by? I know there was a lot of attention being put on the fact that Neither Xbox nor Nintendo had a game nominated for Game of the Year, which, I mean, Xbox, that's not that uncommon, but Nintendo, the last couple of years at least has had a pretty serious contender most years, right? If not every year.
Yeah, I don't think they've put anything out that's on the caliber this year, though.
No.
Just Zelda came out, and I thought Zelda was
Yeah.
great. I thought it was really good. It was
It's not Game of
inventive.
the Year.
I mean, they had
No,
a
it's
lot
not
of
Game of the
releases this year, but to Steve's point, I think they were all not marked because there was like Mario vs. Donkey Kong came out this year, right? Luigi's Mansion 2. There's like, it's like games that are like good games, but like not
Okay.
Game of the Year, right?
Yeah, I wish that Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown had more than the nominations it did. Because sorry, I need to sneeze. But oh no, okay, wait.
Get the man some pepper. Chuck it in his face.
But I do think it's one of those games that not a lot of people played, and therefore didn't get the attention that it really deserved. And to that point, the companies or the team has been sort of like given to other tasks. Given to other tasks, they've been given other tasks to do. Sorry, which is a big shame because that is honestly a game I will rave about for years to come.
Yeah, it's a shame that it seems like it didn't perform the way that it was critically received,
I'm not surprised it's not more recognized, though. I think it's recognized in all of the categories it probably could be, other than maybe Game of the Year, but I don't think it
Didn't
really
connect
makes
enough.
sense there. Maybe you chuck Black Myth out and put that in there instead, but otherwise I think it's a pretty good slate this year, to be honest, with what was released so far.
Yeah.
I could see if Indiana Jones had come out soon, I could see that one may have made it onto the list here, but it might have, even if it's not on Game of the Year, I could see that would have maybe made it into Best Narrative, things like that, but we won't know until that's out.
Yeah. I think one that folks will probably expect me to comment on is that like Dragon Age didn't get nominated for anything except for accessibility, which is one of the fan voted ones. I'm not super surprised by that though. I mean, it's been
Too late then at that point. We probably know what the cutoff is there, then, don't we? Surely.
I don't know if it was a victim of the cutoff. I don't think it was, but
The only time that these games that have come out after a certain time, and this is based on 5 minutes of research, that they've appeared in the Game Awards before is fan voted categories. Games that came out later will generally, the fans will put it in because they've had time to play it, whereas the people who do the nominations haven't. So there's a good chance it just didn't make the cutoff.
And I think that's probably part of it is like it came out a little late or whatever, but also like I think it was also like I think it's divisive in a few different ways, and I think depending on who you are, I think there's a lot of I can like see how the narrative around it is leading to it being like a game that like people who like but are not like going to bat for it as Game of the Year, and the people that don't like it have an axe to grind, whether that's we talked all about that like 2 weeks ago or whatever when we did the Veilguard impression, so you can go check that out. So yeah, I'm not like terribly surprised, but I am surprised kind of, I guess, that it like one nomination is like very low, but like, whatever is what it is. Any other surprises or anything else that you guys like thought should have been on the list somewhere?
No, but I would like to just say, like, last year's awards was I mean, the last 2 years have been a bit of a shit show, right? We've complained endlessly about them. Where are we landing on this year? Are we excited about these awards? Are we not bothered by these awards? Do we think Jeff's gonna step up and acknowledge the shit year it's been?
Where I'm glad I don't watch them live and I can skip through, and I think I'm going to continue to do that moving forwards. I did the same with Summer Game Fest as well, and it's much better. I would say if you're not that bothered about, tweeting along with it, which no one really does anymore, then kind of just watch it at your own pace. Watch it the next day. You can skip through the ads. You can skip through the categories you're not bothered about. You can skip through any announcements you don't care about, and it's just you can skip through the musical performances that go on way too long.
Yeah.
And you can actually just listen to the stuff you want. But I do hope he starts taking on board some of the feedback about the fact that we want to see everyone. If you win Best Indie, we want to see you on stage collecting that. If you have a point to make, the industry's really not doing well. make that
thing.
stance, Jeff. You know, you are there. You're meant to be a titan of the industry. Kind of
Yeah.
connect with people and kind of get that point across.
If the man that claims to represent the entire industry and his entire personality, everything he does is to, hey, I'm the guy, I'm the Dorito Pope, I'm the guy at the top. If you're not going to then look down on and talk about the shit that's happened in the last year and all of the thousands of jobs that have been lost and all of the things that have, you know, that none of the executives has lost their jobs. If you're not going to, and the studios that have closed and all that shit, if you're not going to talk about that, then what's the point?
Yeah, I think he should have made just an acknowledgement, or he should this year make an acknowledgement about it and just be like, right, now we're gonna have some fun. Let's celebrate games.
Yeah,
Let's celebrate all that's good with the industry tonight.
I think he's at a point where if he's not capable of responding to some of those criticisms this year, that he's like past the point of benefit of the doubt, you know? Because I know we've had an increasingly harsh reaction the last like 2 years, because it's like there was a point a couple of years ago where it's like, oh, you know, like the balance is off, but he's tweaking it. It's always getting a little better. It's this, it's that. And it's the last 2 years where there's been like these glaring problems of like, you're really not going to acknowledge layoffs. You're not going to, you know, comment on this. You're not going to comment on, you know, and it's like, it does end up feeling a little bit like, you know, if you're not going to do those things, you're kind of dropping all pretenses that this is an award show and it's just a long commercial. And like, that's not, I don't care about that, you know? And it's like the announcements and everything are the reason most people tune in, fair enough. But it's like, it's an award show. Like, I want to listen to the awards get delivered. I want people to have their moment. And if you're not going to do that, then I think that, you know, you're kind of signaling to me as a viewer that like the commercial aspect of it is more important than the celebration of the industry aspect. And that's what I'm here for. And if all it is the commercials, I'm not going to watch live, right? I'll watch it time shifted, like you said, Steve, or I'll watch the commercials and see who won the next day, because it's not worth it to watch it for 3 hours to watch commercials.
Do you know why I don't think we're getting that, and why I don't think the balance is going to tip that way, and why, if anything, it's going to be maybe even less time dedicated to the actual awards? Because I've just remembered it's the 10-year anniversary today, which means that this year, which means that Jeff is going to spend most of that time sucking himself off on screen. And that's just going to be, he's just going to be like, I'm the best. Isn't this great? The Game Awards is the best. We're the Game Awards, blah, 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 blah. And that time that should be dedicated to the games is actually dedicated to Jeff and probably Kojima somehow. I don't fucking know.
Whatever random celebrity they've like carded out on the stage to be like, video games, am I right? Let's read the nominees.
Hey, it's me, Anthony Mackie. I have zero charisma. And
the best one.
No. See, at least Anthony Mackie was in a fucking adaptation of a video game. It's like hey, I'm this actor that has nothing to do with video games. I've never played a video game, but it sure is cool that y'all are here. Let me read this card. It's like
the Rock was my favorite, and he's like plugging his energy.
Fucking energy drink, yeah.
It's like, I'm just there in my gym working out. Oh, I'm drinking some of my drink.
Yeah.
Like, what?
We don't need that. So yeah, we'll be here to break it down with you in a couple of weeks. We'll see how it goes. Thank you guys for joining us on another episode of the show. Write in with your thoughts on how you think the Game Awards are going to go down. Who do you think's going to win? Who do you want to see win? All that good stuff. What games did you want to see nominated that didn't get nominated? We want to hear from you. However you choose to get involved, FlipScreen.games is the website where you'll find links and all the stuff that you can go click on, and it's a great time. It helps us out a lot. Won't cost you anything unless you want to head over to Patreon and go above and beyond to show your support. Oh, God, excuse me. And keep the mics and the lights hot. However you choose to get involved to show your support, thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a member of the community. We'll see you next week.